So we talk about Japanese fashion a lot. I mean, I gas it up, sure, but that is what we do. But it's incredible. However, sometimes it's frustrating. From absurd sizing to gatekeeping culture to retail being stuck in the 90s, Japan's fashion world has some major annoyances. What's up, everybody? I'm THECASUAL, and today we're breaking down 5 things you'll likely hate about Japanese fashion. And this is coming from me, Mr. I love Japanese fashion himself. It ain't all cookies and rainbows here. We're gonna take a look at some of those things that you could watch out for. Let's get it. All right, so the first thing is sizing. Pretty obvious here. Many of you know this. We've all had to deal with Japanese sizing if we are into it to any degree. Just ask somebody who's worn like a Japanese XL, feels like a Western medium, or like pants that have the thigh area that's slimmer than a pair of chopsticks, or maybe shoes. And if you're over a size 10 or 28 centimeters, if you're into the metric system, good luck finding a pair. Yeah, sure, Japan has like free size clothing, but if you want something more refined, well, tough cookie. This is Japan, buddy, and people here just aren't built like you burly Westerners out there. You're too big. You're no diddy? Anyway, it's kind of wild in Japan because so many foreign models are used in lookbooks and product photos, but when you try to buy the fit itself, it's built for like a completely different body type. So it doesn't make sense, and I would like for them to make it make sense. It's kind of crazy how they do that. Luckily, Japan has great tailors, but honestly, brands could be making so much more cash if they just added a Western-friendly size bracket, especially with the wave of tourists constantly shopping here like now. But no, they're not gonna do that. And the worst part is, all the best pieces seem to be those Japan-only sizes. All right, here's one that is kind of on the fence for me, but I get it for those who get annoyed by this. Now, Japanese fashion isn't just exclusive sometimes. It's like straight up gatekept. Like, Japan has one of the most insular fashion communities in the world, like, bar none. If you're not deep into the culture, it can feel hard to break in. And culturally, it makes sense because that's how Japan kind of operates. People become near surgically tied to their interests and make it a point to protect that interest at all costs, This is positive in my mind in a lot of respects because it maintains the purity of the movements, but it can be a very annoying situation in practice. Like, staff at certain stores don't always give you that welcoming Japanese hospitality that Japan is known for. Instead, they act like you shouldn't even be there. Now, I used to think, now this was because I was a foreigner, right? But no, often it wasn't. It was just that you have to be part of the culture. Now, in some places, staff are literally trained to act standoffish because the fashion they sell has that attitude attached to it. Like, if a store is punk, like, the staff act punk. If a store sells grungy underground looks, they act like they don't care you're there. It's kind of weird, but Japan commits hard to authenticity, even to the point of making shopping an intimidating experience. As I said, I kind of don't mind gatekeeping because honestly, it keeps some prices from spiraling out of control. Like, Japanese fashion was never cheap to begin with, but if you live here, you can kind of manage it by staying within a specific niche. But when Western fashion influencers like hype a Japanese brand, prices explode, like overnight, instantly. You name it, from Capital, Ready-Made, Goros, Needles, Track, effing pants. Hell, people didn't even like Human Made at the beginning, and now it's one of the most well-known brands in Japan. And the prices have reflected the international popularity for every single one of those, and accessibility. And now it's happening again with Japanese denim. Like, Momotaro and PBJ, Pure Blue Japan, are near impossible to get now due to an influx of interest, leaving denim enthusiasts left in the dust. Yes, it's good that there's more interest, but a ton of that is just going to be resold at a premium. And the frustrating part is, Japan doesn't expand production the way that Western brands do. They're not gonna open more locations or produce extra stock. So when demand spikes, the only way to get in is to pay extra in the aftermarket. And paying more for something that shouldn't be more is never not annoying. And I honestly hate it myself. In fact, I try to thread the needle. I want people to discover things in Japan, but I also don't want everybody to kind of gravitate towards one thing that I say, oh, this brand is the dopest brand. That's why you never hear me say that. I'm never like, yo, everybody needs to check out this one brand. We got some more, but before that, a word from our sponsor, Squarespace.
You've probably heard that Squarespace is one of the best places to build a website. If you've been here, I know you have. They have award-winning templates, backend analytics, a host of essential integrations, and phenomenal customer service, right? Well, let's go ahead and add to that. Squarespace now gives you the opportunity to build your own email templates, edit your future website on mobile, and now has a video app so you can make your site even more personal for visitors. And you're gonna wanna use all those because Squarespace's new members areas allow you to create communities, monetize, and give back to your most loyal followers and fans. And that's just the surface. By joining up, you can save 10% off of your website by using our link, squarespace.com/thecasual. So get started on that site and use Squarespace today.
So this next one is kind of serious and it might rub some people the wrong way, but don't take it the wrong way. So it's about cultural appreciation. And for many, again, this is a hot button issue. Now I've always defended Japanese fashion for its adoption of other cultural fashion movements. The attention to detail, the quality, the effort, I personally admire all of it. But that detail comes at a very high price. Lack of true cultural depth. It's almost too perfect sometimes, too stiff, too much like an act rather than a modification or evolution. And it's a double-edged sword because in its highest form, the evolution does take place. You've seen this with like June and Undercover or Nigo and his labels. Mastermind has that, Capital, and all of the denim and Japanese Americana brands we all know and love do that as well. So I really have no gripes with those, and really, we don't have any gripes with those because they're done well and have distinct cultures in and of themselves that are unique to Japan. And look, I respect Japan's deep study of fashion movements, but sometimes it's so meticulously accurate that I begin to think about whether they're just mimicking what they think the culture is, or if they truly understand the complexities of where those fashion movements come from. Now, I want to think the latter, but with very little reference points or mentors in those spaces, it's hard to think that nuanced perspective is widespread. And what's worse, I hate saying that because I know like Japanese fashion enthusiasts don't mean any harm, and they do honor those styles by studying and refining. It's that double-edged sword that I'm talking about. That meticulousness is the respect, but do they understand that the culture, which is the other side of that kind of adoption? And that's why this one is not a condemnation or accusation of stealing or commodifying. I don't believe that at all. Like, I totally believe culture should be shared and people can wear what they want. But I'm also pragmatic. I know for a fact people will see this kind of thing the wrong way if they don't know Japanese people well or understand the nuances of Japanese culture and how they approach these things. So yeah, that was a serious one. But for this last one, like for all the advances that Japan has made in fashion, the retail model is just dated. I know this is like less serious, but seriously, this one takes the cake. Japanese retail is like straight out of the 90s, like 90s dated. Brands heavily rely on department stores, marketing is non-existent and more so word of mouth discoveries, and that's good if it's culturally driven, but you miss out on a lot of labels that are doing great things because nobody's actually ever heard of them and then they close down, which is awful. And many brands don't even have their own proper online shops, opting for middlemen like Zozo and Rakuten and get lost in the shuffle. Payments are still a finicky thing at checkout in some places. I mean, let's not even get into payments. Oh, let's get into payments. There's like 5,000 ways to pay for something in Japan, and sometimes none of those options include just credit card. Like point cards and memberships are rampant, returns are near impossible to get right. Seriously, if you want to return something in Japan, like every detail must be near identical to when you purchased it. If a barcode like folds while attached to a pair of socks, the likelihood of a return could be up for discussion, up for debate. I mean, that's a bit extreme, but returns in Japan are like short windows and hardcore. They have to be perfect. Even the box being messed up is just, no bro. Now couple that with the intimidating retail experiences I mentioned before, and shopping often can be a hassle. And again, online is probably where things are just take the cake kind of hate, or take the cake of hate, whatever, you get it. Japanese brand sites can often be confusing to navigate, poorly optimized, and if they do offer international shipping, you have to literally email in some cases. True talk, like they'll email us and we'll give you the price. That's how some of them operate. That's right, like no international checkout for you, hombre. You literally have to send a full-on message to them. Because for some reason, even the Japanese website services, like Squarespace, don't allow for international shipping forms, which is a damn shame and just so far behind. That's like the biggest criticism for Japan. A lot of these things are like, Japan is advanced, but not in this area. So basically, if you're Japanese or living in Japan, it's par for the course. You get kind of used to it and you learn to navigate it. Now, if you're visiting Japan, you'll be like, but why though? And online, well, that just makes you want to quit altogether. So it's a frustrating process unless you know where to go or you stick to one thing, which is what Japanese fashion almost always forces you to do. That all said, for all the things you might hate about Japanese fashion, I mean, the country still makes some of the best fashion in the world. So it's hard to give up. It really is. You just can't stop. So for someone like myself, all those hates just go by the wayside. So you're just like, I'll deal with it. That said, what issues do you have with Japanese fashion? I'm pretty sure there's some things that weren't mentioned here, so yeah, let it be known. Drop your thoughts in the comments. You know the deal. You know how to do that. Or mention another topic you'd like to explore, or maybe a brand that you'd like to do a deep dive on, because we're gonna be doing those very soon. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on labels that you would like to see, just kind of the history, but also how the piece operates in real time, because we're gonna be doing a lot of that. But yeah, do that, all of those thoughts. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info in international fashion, culture, and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu, and I'll see you guys in a minute. And yes, this was a series of videos where my voice was gone. So I tried my best. Should be fun. You guys are gonna get on me about that, but I love you anyway.